Welcome to the Select Board meeting. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220, note new zone number, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. And with that, if I can ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do I have any amendments to the agenda?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
To you and the board, if I could amend under the town manager's report, add a number 4 for the Shriver Job Corps resolution of support.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have none.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
And Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Sean Copeland is joining us on Zoom, so it threw me for a second there. Sorry about that.
Do roll call.
Okay. All right, any announcements tonight? Okay. Anyone here for public input? Okay. Well then, we will, oh, yes.
The public input is related to the senior center update.
Public input on other than what's on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, with that, the application for the common victular license, the Two Brothers Catering. Are they here? Are they online? They're online? You're here? Come on up.
Up here, yep.
Okay. You have a seat. You'll say your name and address.
For my house or for the business?
For the business is fine.
Michael Villaranga, 200 West Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts, 01432.
Thank you. All right, so you're here for a license. Why don't you tell us a little about it? Oh, Carly, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we have an application here for a common victualer's license, which is standard for a restaurant with, like where people come in to sit to eat. So it's standard. We sent it to all the departments. You saw the responses, and then once everything has been fulfilled, then we can release the license.
Okay, so there's still a requirement?
Yeah, you're still working with Bridget at the Board of Health, correct?
She said she wants to come and do it. I thought we had to come here and wait for this in order for her to come to us.
Yeah, so she'll be in touch probably tomorrow. I'll let her know, you know, if it passes tonight, and then she'll coordinate. The fire department as well had some comments, so we'll get it all coordinated for you. They just have to do some inspections.
Yeah, that's common. Well, tell us a little bit about the business.
Just two brothers trying to feed the world, that's all. We just having a good time doing what we do. There's no money involved. We just love doing it.
Yeah. What kind of food? I mean,
Everything's from scratch. I'm a classically trained chef, so I cook from all 7 continents. My brother is a pit master, so
Okay.
we do it all.
where is 200 West Main Street?
The former Karen's Kitchen.
Ah, yes. Okay. Oh, everybody's looking forward to that reopening. So, Okay.
Just moved the smokers down there this afternoon.
Ooh, nice. All right. Okay, any questions?
Do you see it as breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or more just dinner, or?
Right now, we're working on the breakfast and lunch, and we're thinking maybe 3 days out the week on the dinner. You know, trying to see what the town likes. Same thing we did when we went to Shirley. We found out what they like. You know, it's all about the town. The town is what keeps us alive.
Sounds good. Sean, do you have any questions?
I don't have any, no.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so you have the fire department has to do an inspection, and we said the Board of Health has to finalize some paperwork.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I see no issues. Yeah, I see no issues. We can just, approve it
Right.
under the conditions of.
Yep, and then I'll coordinate with Bridget in the fire department, and once everything's done, we can give you the permit.
Okay, sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Truly appreciate
Okay,
it.
well, we're gonna take the motion, though. Do you
Oh, we
want
gotta
to
take
make
a
a
motion?
motion?
You're gonna take the vote.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the common victualers license for Two Brothers Catering at 200 West Main Street in Ayer, upon completion of a fire inspection and completion of Board of Health paperwork.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations. As long as
Thanks so
everything
much.
gets done, you're gonna be open for business. I think you got some hungry people in the audience waiting for it to open, so.
I'm just as hungry as you. I miss all. I do. I do.
I'll give you a call tomorrow to
Sounds
coordinate.
good. We'll be there first thing in the morning. Thank you.
Sounds great, thank you.
Truly appreciate everybody.
Okay, all right.
I like those. Those are
Yeah.
fun.
All right. Chief Gill.
Good evening. I know you got a kind of a full agenda, and I got a couple of topics here, so I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet as much as possible. If you want to stop me for any questions, just stop me, and we'll try to go deeper if we need to.
Okay.
All right. So, of the first topics I wanted to talk about tonight it's more of an announcement, but it's something great that we do. In the month of August, we partner up with the Stone Soup Pantry to do a August food drive. August is a time of the year when the supplies at food pantries get very low. Our Sergeant John McDonald, who has, he told me that this is the 5th year that we've been doing this, and it's greatly helped our local food pantry to keep their stocks up. This year, we're happy to announce that we're partnering with the Rotary on a special Fill the Cruiser event, as well as with the Shirley Police Department.
Oh, nice.
We're hoping to, make some big strides in the Fill the Pantry effort. So this is all something that's run by Sergeant John McDonald, who does a great job, and he also does our toy drive, which will come up shortly after.
And that will start commencing on,
August 1st. It
Okay.
goes for the entire month of August.
all right, so August 1st, August 31st, everyone
We'll have,
donate as much as you can.
And we'll have a shopping cart in our front lobby that we didn't steal from anyone.
Are you sure?
I don't think Bradley's is open anymore. I don't know.
Bradley's, oh my goodness, that's a name from the past. Oh my goodness.
All right. The next thing we got up is recently on June 18th. I'm happy to announce that the police department was awarded reaccreditation, which is a huge thing. Reaccreditation means that we reach and meet the highest levels of professional police standards in the Commonwealth. And I think one of the most important things to understand about this is completely voluntary. This is something that the town of Ayer and the Ayer Police Department choose to do. It's not required of any police department. And we're one of 120 cities and towns in the Commonwealth that are an accredited police department. So we're very, very proud of that. Our accreditation process actually started the day after we announced that one up there when we got our initial accreditation, because it's a 3-year process to keep it going, making sure we're meeting over 300 accreditation standards that the police department has to meet and achieve. And that covers everything from hiring, all of our policy reviews and training, all of our use of force stuff. Everything that we do with the police department all has an angle that has to be covered, and we have to meet these professional standards. So we're really proud of that, the fact that we have that and that we were able to maintain that. And it's no easy feat. The deputy chief, who's our accreditation manager, Deputy Chief Jen Bigelow, spent 3 years not only maintaining these, but we had to transition to their most updated standards. So it was she was kind of faced with a double whammy, so to speak, on that. But she was able to keep her team together and make sure that we meet all these standards. And then it culminates into a 3-day assessment where we have other professionals from around the Commonwealth come and they actually test us. And they go through every article of our standards that we're supposed to be meeting. And I can tell you that there were agencies in the Commonwealth that were not awarded reaccreditation. We were only of, I think, 14 agencies in June, and they only do this twice a year, that were given the reaccreditation. So we're really, really proud of this. And the deputy chief, should be commended, and as well as her team, Sergeant Pearson, the office manager, Heather Sherry, and the communications manager, Chris Herstrom. All of these people have a hand in all of this, and they're really the administrative hand, but it really goes to every officer in the police department, because they're the ones that have to meet these standards day in and day out. So we're very, very proud of this. So what I would like to do is present the board with an updated certificate that will go and replace one of those. One's a certification, one's an accreditation. So that's for the board to put up there if they want.
You want to take a picture?
If we have time to take a picture, we have one with a whole group of people, but the board's wish.
Well, I want to read this. So for everyone here, this says, Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission Incorporated. Be it hereby known that the Ayer Police Department, having fully demonstrated its commitment to police excellence by living up to a body of progressive standards to ensure that the delivery of police services within the Commonwealth is at the highest level of professionalism and integrity, and having reflected the best professional practices in each area of police management, administration, operations, and support services, is hereby recognized as an accredited police agency for a period of 3 years upon the recommendation of the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission Incorporated, and awarded this certificate of reaccreditation on the 18th day of June 2025 for the commission, Russell M. Stevens, President. Expires June 2028. I think this is excellent.
And I also want to thank the support of the town and the board for allowing us to keep going with this and keeping this level of professionalism at the police department. So thank you.
So did you all decide about the picture?
Madam Chair?
I feel I'm fine.
All right. We're good.
All right.
We'll have Chuck put it in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next, body worn cameras. So I'm happy to announce that after a lot of I'd say about 3 years of planning and moving through the process, on July 1st, the Ayer Police Department began wearing body worn cameras. It seems like it's that everybody has them. In Massachusetts, it wasn't that way. In Massachusetts, we were kind of like the not norm in the country. So working with the unions, and I had a very good working relationship with them in making this happen. They actually were very much in favor of bringing body cameras to the department. They realized that the level of transparency and trust that it brought to the community, and and allowed them to help properly document exactly what was happening in the interactions that they were having with the public. So it was something that the entire department really wanted to have on board. So we went through an entire process, and in the middle of this, a grant opportunity arose. Our office manager, Heather Sherry, put pen to paper, and she was able to successfully win a grant that fully funded the purchase of all of the initial equipment and software for bringing this body worn camera to fruition. So it actually cost the town nothing to start this program. We developed the policy, and the policy seems to be working right now. But we're all learning it, so it's muscle memory to get out. It's one more thing you have to do. There's some technological advances that we'll be able to kind of look at in the future to help us automate the systems. But this is a huge thing for the town of Ayer, but it's a good thing for the town of Ayer, and we're very happy that we're having that. And I'm really happy that the officers have embraced having this with us. So, if there's this is kind of big, so if there's any questions, I'd love to answer them.
I have none. Sean, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions on cameras, no.
No, you explained it well.
Okay, great.
Right. And without further ado, my last topic. So we have a slide up there as well. So for several years now, we've been involved with we've been kind of a forming member of a group called COIN. And COIN is a Community Outreach Initiative Network, is what it stands for. And what it is a group of towns all based out of the Ayer District Court. And we recognized that we needed to come together to offer the communities that we all served a service that really wasn't being served by policing. But we're always called to these. We're kind of like the fail-safe. We're the safety net of the community. So we get called to mental health calls. We get called to try and help families with substance use. And our tool belt is only that big. So what we realized is that we needed to partner with certain professionals. And what was taking hold at the time was what's called jail diversion program, and it's a program, a grant-funded program out of the Department of Mental Health. And what that helped us do is bring what's called a co-response clinician to the agencies. And what a co-response clinician does is they're assigned to a town and they ride with an officer. And when a crisis is unfolding, they're already on site and they can help us and help the families, more importantly, with whatever crisis is in front of them at that moment in time, especially those involving mental health and substance use issues. I can tell you that it was a completely different mindset for how policing, we were used to doing policing, to now have somebody else riding with us that, isn't an officer. The other part of what COIN is a post-response. So for things that weren't in an emergent crisis, we had this referral person, and they were called the Community Resource Navigator. So if we came up to a family that had some sort of, maybe not emergent crisis, but they were having something that maybe having trouble handling, we would file what we call as a COIN referral. And the next day, this Community Resource Navigator would be reaching out to the family to get them on a path to help either them or their family into whatever services they needed to get to. Sometimes it was multiple referrals that it took. Some people really don't want help on the first time, but maybe on the 10th time that we're dealing with them, they recognize that, okay, maybe we need to get some help. And that's so that's kind of the COIN in a nutshell. It was something that was different from us, but I'm going to tell you that since when this program, we started with this program in 2015 and built it to where it is today, and I'll describe that a little bit more, that the officers in every police department that COIN is involved in, and that's 9 towns, everybody that's out of the Ayer District Court, have come to embrace the COIN program and all that it's doing for the communities, because we realize that it's really filling this gap that we as police officers just can't fill. I talked about the 9-member towns. They're Ashby, Ayer, Boxborough, Dunstable, Groton, Littleton, Shirley, Townsend, and Westford. We briefly talked about the goal of this is to connect citizens affected by mental health and substance use disorder to resources, and the ultimate goal is to keep them away from the criminal justice system, which is really our only avenue. So if we came up with somebody that had a mental health issue that was being disorderly, our only recourse was to arrest and to stop the problem. The clinicians that we're working with, they have that different skill set, and they can help with that as well. One of the things that became very important with the hospital closing, one of our tools in our tool belt would be to get somebody to the hospital for an emergency mental health evaluation. Well, we lost that. We lost that service to all of our towns. The co-response clinicians that ride with us fill in that gap. They can be that doctor that we don't have access to anymore. I'm going to go to the next page real quick, and it just kind of briefly outlines how we got to where we are today. So we started pre-2015 when we recognized during the opioid crisis that we were really, we were up against the wall. We were treading water, not too good. 2015, all the police departments out of Ayer District Court got together, and then we were kind of all shepherded by Police Chief David Scott, who's since retired. And then around 2016, we started getting Department of Mental Health grants, and they began to fund this fledgling program, really a grassroots program that was started by the police departments and supported by the towns. And it started with a very small resource. It was I think it was a 10 or a 20-hour a week. I guess we'll call it a post response. Somebody that would just kind of help all these towns in 20 hours. And then it just kept growing, and you can read the timeline if you want at your leisure. But in 2024, kind of where we're at today, we have 2 co-response clinicians, 1 community resource navigator, and a program manager. So it's 4 employees, and they're all fully funded by the Department of Mental Health through what's called the diversion program, just drawing a blank, the JDP program. So in 2024, the police department became the administrative lead in maintaining that grant. It became the town that had it at the time didn't have the resources, didn't want to do it anymore. So we, as a team, came up with a plan, and that we were able to kind of shepherd this grant through the process. And we were the ones who were being awarded the grants from the Department of Mental Health, and then contracting out with a group to give us the services, the service personnel that we needed. Since 2024, when we took over the grant, we've had 92 co-response clinician contacts. These are actual times with our co-response clinician has actively been involved in something with one of the crises that we responded to. In the post-response community navigator made connections and contacts, professional contacts with over 580 people just since October of 2024. Another thing that happened in 2024 was we were part of a smaller resource network, and that resource network was absorbed by a much larger resource network. And what had begun happening is they were changing our program, and it wasn't working for our communities. So recently we've collectively made the decision that we each need to go our separate ways, meaning us first in the corporate service provider. So here we are today, and where we are today is we needed something better. We needed to get back to our original COIN program. And there's been a growing trend across Massachusetts where the where the grant funding is used to help transition from the corporate service provider to the municipal service providers. So the jail diversion programs become municipalized rather than part of a behavioral service entity. So we looked at those programs, and there are 35 fully funded municipal jail diversion programs in the Commonwealth right now, and the list is growing. So what we want to do is we want to move to that program where the grant funds, fully funds our municipal program, as is the growing communities in the Commonwealth. And we think that is probably the best alternative we can look to. In speaking with the Department of Mental Health, who fully support this and are helping us with the transition and moving forward. So where are we at now, and what are our next steps? So what I'm here tonight is to ask is for select board authorization to commence with the hiring process. Right now, our coin program is no longer servicing any of our communities because of the kind of where we're at. Coin doesn't have any employees to give us. Not Coin, we are Coin. We don't have any employees because they didn't want to work for the company that they were working for anymore. So what we're looking for is to start a hiring process using through using grant funds. We want to develop an intermunicipal agreement, and we're hoping to be very aggressive with the hiring and implementation of this process because the services that our communities deserve are no longer there right now. And Mr. Pomfret, is there anything I missed?
Madam Chair, no, good job, Chief. So just to clarify, there would be 4 non-union positions, and they would follow the town's non-union personnel policies. The chief would be the supervisor. They'd be based out of the Ayer Police Department. The DMH grant, which is an annual grant, is about $400,000, and we have calculated that the grant will cover all 4 clinicians, their salaries, their benefits, as well as the retirement assessment. So there is no budgetary impact. The job descriptions, the job posting, and the intermunicipal agreement, which will come back on August 19th, all clearly state, so there's a clear understanding that if the grant goes away, the program and the employees go away. There is no intention, I've talked to the chief at length about this, that if the grant goes away, we can't retain, these 4 employees. So I just want to make that clear. As long as the grant is in place, it's completely covered. Lastly, in addition to keeping coin, I think, which is key, and I think in support just our police department, but the whole region, we will get approximately additional hours of professional service for the town in addition to the police function. And this is not intended to replace or supplant the town social worker position, which is funded in the budget, and hopefully we will have a plan on that very shortly. So just to clarify that. So we would we wanted to make sure that the board was comfortable in us commencing with the hiring process. Secondly, we will be back on August 19th with the intermunicipal agreement, and the target implementation is somewhat aggressive, but it's important we get those services back.
Now, they were answered, because that was my thought, was if the grant ran out, what then happens in the future, but
Yep.
that was you answered it well, so.
Sean, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's a great idea.
I think this sounds like a great program. Congratulations on getting the grant. It's things like this that take care of, the community as a whole, and which I'm always for. So, Anyone make a motion for supporting this, or?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to authorize the commencement of the hiring process for the Community Outreach Initiative Network.
Second that.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. You have our support. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Done.
Get to hiring.
Chief.
All right, next up, Senior Center Building Committee update.
Hello. All right. Thank you for having us tonight. And it has been since November, I believe, that we, that we've given a major update to you. I wanted to let you know what we've been up to, the progress we've made to date in our efforts to build a right-sized or design a right-sized senior center that will meet all of the physical, social, intellectual, and emotional needs of the seniors of Ayer. So we've been hard at work since our last update. We heard you guys loud and clear. There were concerns about the size and the cost of the proposed senior center at that point. So the committee went back, got to work with the architect, and has made a series of revisions to the program. They include removing the walking roof, which was the covered sidewalk around the full perimeter of the building. We reduced the building by about 700 square feet, as well as simplified the design of the rear and the sides of the building, squaring them off to create some efficiencies in design and therefore cost. And we also identified a list of add alternates, things that would be optional parts of the building process, given that would offer budgetary flexibility. All in all, those changes combined with the soft cost reductions, that are percentages that go along with that, it was nearly $1 million in reduced cost as of February 2025. Next slide. In addition to those revisions to the program, the building committee completed soil testing to determine the water table and the structural requirements for designing and building. We completed the site survey and drafted an approval not required designation for the new lot. We hired Vertex as the owner's project manager and completed schematic design with Catlin Architecture. That resulted in a new cost estimate, along with our January and February meetings with FinCom and capital planning, to come up with a plan to reduce the taxpayer impact. So in addition to those things, ongoing things are utilities planning, permitting required for the site and for the utilities, as well as ongoing public outreach planning and initial fundraising efforts, by the Friends. Next slide. All right, so this one is hard to read. I'm going to walk you guys through it in two slides, kind of two different sides of the same thing. So when this is a document provided by Vertex, the OPM. So when the cost estimate came back, we can focus on the green column and the yellow column. The base construction cost was $11.5 million. And then we were able to identify that list of alternates, those 5 add alternates that could be taken in or out of the project to give us the budgetary flexibility that we need. And that totaled, at this point, both of those columns are the same at a total of 11.9 million. Then when you add in the soft costs and then as well as town managed budgets, things AV, IT, security. Those are things that the contractor's not providing, but the town is providing. That brings it up to 16.4 million without the add alternates, or 16.9 with the add alternates. So that's the top half of that chart there. The impact is not, to the taxpayer, is not going to be 16.4 or 16.9 million. The committee's been hard at work identifying ways to reduce that taxpayer impact. The things in the dark green, those 3 lines, are the 3 grant sources that we've had so far. We haven't spent any local taxpayer dollars. We had the Housing Choice Grant, the ARPA funds, and then the UDAG funds that were left from the last round of senior center planning that have gotten us to where we are today. As well as that 4th line is not relevant. We can pull that out. As well as earmarks from Representative Sina and Senator Eldridge. And as a result of the meetings with FinCom and capital planning, there has been a pledge or a proposal to include $1 million in UDAG funds and $2 million in capital stabilization funds. They're in lighter green because those are suggestions and potential. They're not, obviously that requires town meeting and select board approval. And then we come down to the things that are in yellow. These are things that are less certain than the green ones, but things that we think we have a good chance for. So we've submitted for another round of Housing Choice Grant for up to $500,000 for the water construction. I'm sorry, the Senator Eldridge one is down here because we haven't, we don't have an exact amount back yet. And then we pulled out community preservation funds, and then the last 2 lines were any additional foundation fundraising, and then the $325,000 pledged by the Friends as their fundraising goal. So all of that amounts to, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot CDBG. The green column includes the 1.3 million in CDBG funds, and the yellow column doesn't. So at the very bottom that you see circled in red, the scenario is with the $10 million goal of bonding $10 million to limit the taxpayer impact, we're coming in with a potential gap there. On the low end, if we get the CDBG funds and we don't take any of the alternates, you can see it's 10.7 million. So it's about a $700,000 gap. On the high end, if we did not get the CDBG funds and we took all the ad alternates, that would be $12.5 million rather than $10 million in terms of the funding ask that would be required at town meeting. Next slide. I find that a little bit confusing, so I decided to simplify it and put it on this slide, so I'll go very quickly through it in this way. So the schematic design cost estimate came back at 16.9 million. The committee pretty much immediately, that was a higher number than we wanted, so took a look and identified some ad alternates that we could take out, such as not having stone veneer on the bottom and not putting in pickleball courts right away. That saves $183,000, as well as we can take out the grants utilized to date and the legislative earmarks from Senator Eldridge and Representative Sina. Also then able to subtract out the capital stabilization proposal of $2 million and a UDAG grant of $1 million, as well as the potential for a CDBG grant of $1.3 million. That would bring us, last time we were here, we were talking about 16 million and a taxpayer impact around $270 annually for the average household. So our efforts over the last 7 months have really, we've been able to reduce that taxpayer impact down considerably. There are, again, some things that were not guaranteed, but things we were feeling, fairly good about are the $500,000 Housing Choice Grant, the pledge of the Friends of the Ayer Senior Center that brings that impact down even further. And that does leave us with about $1 million need for additional grants or donations or town support. And that would bring us down to the $10 million target debt exclusion. And that would have a taxpayer impact of less than $181 on the average household. All right, next slide. So what happened between now and then? The committee, like I said, we heard the impact or the input from the select board and went back and made nearly $1 million in reductions back in February. We thought we would be able to bridge the remaining reductions with the CDBG grant. That's been uncertain. It's been in the federal budget, out of the federal budget, but the last I've heard is that it's back in the federal budget, so that's encouraging. We did take out the approximately $100,000 in community preservation funds just due to understanding more about the designation required on the piece of land that doesn't seem feasible for this project. As well as we were working with a range from the architect and the OPM about what we thought the cost estimate would come back at, and it happened to come back at the higher end of the range. If it had come back at the lower end of the range, we'd all be throwing a party right now. It would be less than the $10 million goal for the bond. And then also there's just been a slower start to fundraising. I still have there's a lot of potential there. They're just, the Friends of the Ayer Senior Center is just getting started now. So next slide. All right, so that leaves us with kind of three options that the building committee has been addressing and discussing. We had a meeting earlier this week, and we have another meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. There's really three options for moving forward, because we really do want to bring to the town meeting, to the people of Ayer, the opportunity to invest in a senior center. So the first option is to keep the building status quo as it is, with a larger debt exclusion than the target of $10 million. Obviously that doesn't meet the $10 million goal. And while we do think we addressed some of the size and cost concerns, obviously because it's still over our goal, it doesn't fully address all of those concerns. The second option is to continue with the existing project, but increasing the town investment. And I have between 2 and 3 million here. That's a conservative number, because when on the previous slide there was a range of 700,000 to 2.5 million. So that's there kind of as a conservative measure. That would allow us to bring it to town meeting with meeting that $10 million debt exclusion goal to keep the impact to taxpayers as low as possible. It does not fully, again, address all of the size and cost concerns, and it would require increasing the contributions from capital stabilization and UDAG. Option number 3 is further reducing the project beyond what we have currently done. Obviously, that would allow us to meet the $10 million debt exclusion goal. Any and all size or price concerns would be resolved, and that would require no additional fundraising or external funding sources. The downside to going that in that direction is that there would be a significant loss of funding, of space and the programming capability at the senior center. Fewer rooms, smaller rooms, that sort of a thing would impact what we would be able to do after we had spent the money. There would also be a cost to revise the schematic design and time involved with that to get to a new design and repeat the cost estimate. And as I know you guys are aware, we haven't spent any local taxpayer dollars thus far on the project, and we were lucky to have that housing choice grant, but that grant period is expired now, so there is no more money left with which to revise the schematic design. That of course takes time if we went that route, and that creates potential timeline issues for the fall town meeting. I would have to discuss in detail what we would need and how quickly we could do it, but that would create either a compressed public outreach period or the risk of it going out to spring town meeting in 2026, which creates more risk, because if the further we push it out, we have to responsibly carry more escalation and more contingency funds the further out the building start is. So I'm concerned that even if we did that, we wouldn't be able to really fully actualize the savings that we wanted to. So I just wanted to give an update on where we are now. Like I said, this is something that the building committee has really been grappling with and continues to. Robert, did you have anything, or Ken, did you
I
have
do a
anything you
lot.
wanted to-
So thank you very much for meeting with us. I have no slides, I have no notes, but I want to give you a little bit more of how we work to these numbers. In the process I'm doing this off the top of my head, so bear with me for just a minute. But since February, as Katie mentioned, we went out and authorized the schematic design of the building. That took us from a feasibility layout of the building to more detailed drawings and measurements for each room, and the design was brought to a much, much deeper design level. Part of that problem for doing the process of doing that is to create the second part of the obligation that was owed to us by the designer, which was to provide a professional estimator at the value of about $15,000 to $20,000 to take that schematic design and then look at it in a professional estimate. So we have an estimate for Fogey, which is 21 odd pages now versus the 3 or 4 pages that we had originally that I had actually estimated many, many months ago based on 2 other previous buildings that were done by the same architects. So in going through the schematic design, the committee looked closely at use of each of the rooms, the layout of the building, the size of the building. People have mentioned the fact that, there's a 2-story building. I just want to clarify that it's only a portion of the building that's 2 stories. The building is around 13,700 square feet. The main part of the building is 2 floors of just over 5,000 square feet. And then the big room in the back, which is basically the multi-purpose room, the area where you eat, the kitchen, the related facilities to that, is about 3,600 square feet. So in essence, the building is 1 floor of about 8,000 some odd square feet and a second floor of about 5,000 square feet. So it's not a completely 2-story building. If people are saying maybe it's a 2-story building. So we've looked closely at the use of each of the rooms, the way the rooms operate as a whole of the building. We've had a lot of help from the DPW, so I cannot leave tonight without thanking Dan Kelquick, because unfortunately, we've got a great piece of land, but the land sits in an area that is not served by utilities. So part of the reason we have a budget that includes $1 million in utility costs just to get it to the site as part of our budget is we're analyzing that constantly with National Grid and with environmental engineers, because the land sits in an environmentally sensitive part of town. So months and months of work have been going into not just looking at numbers like this, but in looking at the environmental aspects of the job, how much has to be done to bring utilities to the site. I don't know how many times we've met with National Grid, 3 or 4 or 5 times we've met with National Grid on estimates. Dan has been kind enough to put together a detailed estimate for the water going down the street. So we're carrying that number in our budget, like $600,000 or $700,000. It may come in less than that. One of the disadvantages that we have is that no matter what we do here, we're moving, it's somewhat of a moving target. The committee, and I can tell you honestly, myself and others on the committee have spent hundreds of hours trying to look at each piece of this puzzle and work it down the best we can. I can say that I think there's more savings there, but we can't unequivocally say that now because we have to be conservative in what we talk to you folks about and what we talk to the town about. When we get to this level of design, has basically given the committee an opportunity, as I said before, to look at the whole building. Now, there's another $3 million odd in the site development costs of the building, meaning parking lots, the whole area for landscape, the whole thing, septic system, underground water, stormwater situation, piping to the street. So we have an extensive budget that's much more detailed than what Katie gave you a summary of. So in those lists of line items, we have to look at each one of those line items and try to determine, is there a place we can save, as we get closer to bidding the project, or closer to a town meeting, should say, so we can convince people at town meeting that yes, we can get this done. The good news is that the budget, the numbers that came out early on, I think the 16.6 million, has not gone up. So at this point in time, we're pretty much where we were back in February, as we put out, a brochure that talked about the total amount for the project. Unfortunately, I personally would like to see that number come down, and we're going to continue to work towards that. The other thing I wanted to mention, Robert has been good to work with, and we hope that everyone, we're using the number $10 million for debt exclusion. So we're coming here tonight kind of assuming that that's what you people have in mind. We really don't know if that number goes down or not, but we have been working with that assumption. And in regards to the building itself, I want to mention something about the actual product that we're building. So in this particular case, basically we're designing a building that will be the best constructed building in the town of Ayer because it's going to be built under the latest design standards, highest efficiencies, the stretch energy code, ADA, you name it, every single criteria of excellence that can go into a building is required today. And on top of that, because the building is specifically designed as a senior center, there's a special accommodations in the building for seniors as well. So we're talking about floor coverings that may be more conducive to moving wheelchairs. There's many detailed features of the building that go beyond what people think of as a standard building because of the level of requirements for the codes and the level of requirements to accommodate a population that needs special consideration. So I think that's a difficult thing to get your arms around. I think people think of it as maybe a typical house or a typical flat roof building or whatever the case might be. It's not. It's really a specialized building that has high design standards and a quality level we think the town deserves, number one. So I'm all on board with that idea. So I'm kind of giving you a little more detail on what we've found out about the building beyond just the figures and the fact that we've worked on every inch of the project at this point in time, going down the street, working with the utilities, working with the architect. And I guess, I would say we do believe that we potentially can save more savings somewhere along the line, but we're not sure we can say that right now because the professionals have come up with the pricing and we have to go pretty much with the, the final budget numbers that we've been shown at this point in time. So there's no lack of effort by anybody on the committee or anybody, Katie or Dan or myself, to try to make this the most cost-efficient, well-planned, thought-provoking senior center that we can have for the town of Ayer. No notes.
Robert?
Madam Chair, Katie, Ken, the entire committee, thank you for the presentation tonight. And I would just like to say, Madam Chair, that the committee, to Ken's point, has worked very hard, and there's no question that we need a new senior center, and we've been working extremely hard at this, as the board knows, actually since 2018, as we move forward. Just a couple clarifying points, if you don't mind. So to date, on the legislative earmark, they have 150. We do have 50,000 confirmed through an earmark through Representative Center, which did pass the budget that the governor signed, and we're waiting on release. So we do have 50,000. The remaining 100,000 or so more to come from Senator Eldridge's office. A couple other clarifying points. On the CDBG grant, the 1.3 million, when that was originally presented to the committee and presented as an option by the previous economic development director, there were two things that we did not realize or that were left out at that time. In order to apply and be eligible for that grant, which we would be competitive for, you have to have a shovel-ready project with town meeting approval. So that 1.3 million will come into play, the earliest it could come into play would be the spring of 2026, let's say, assuming approval of a project and shovel-ready. So the other thing I want to just clarify, I think for everybody's benefit, is this target of the 10,000, the 10 million. We wish it was 10,000.
Yeah.
10 million on the debt exclusion and where that came from. So that was not a number that was just plucked out of the sky. A lot of work went on to that. The theory behind the 10 million on the debt exclusion, I want to thank Barbara Tierney, the finance manager, who has and will do a lot of work on this. The first is that 10 million, so there are a couple of things we have to look at. One is the affordability of the project and what is the impact of any project on the taxpayer. So assuming that at the 10 million mark, as mentioned in the presentation, that puts the average tax impact average residential tax impact under $200 in the first year as it goes forward. So pushing in this town based on the demographics, median income, so forth, pushing beyond that 10 million begins to be a challenge in terms of affordability and a challenge in terms of public and political support to pass it. So the other piece, as the town has other capital needs underway and prepared also in the future and unknown things, in terms of our capacity to borrow, the finance manager, myself, bond counsel and so forth, that number is a fair number. So I just want to stress for everybody's benefit that that's the piece behind the 10 million. The other piece, so back in January when this was going through capital and so forth, was looking at a way to mitigate or minimize the impact to the taxpayer. And so two things were proposed, as you saw earlier, was the potential, the capital stabilization account of the town, which has currently over 6 million as the balance in it. As the board knows, that's for capital projects and so forth. It was proposed, and I proposed that subject to town meeting approval, so it requires a 2/3 vote of town meeting, the 2 million from capital stabilization could help offset on this project. The additional piece was that on the UDAG, which is currently has 3.1 million is the balance, is $1 million from the UDAG to further mitigate those costs. So these are I think these are the considerations or the challenges before us now. There's no question that the committee has done its work and has designed the optimal, based on the program, building. The issue now is to figure out the full funding piece and also the timeline, which I just want to talk about just briefly, and then I'll stop. So what I did in looking at it, if you go, can we go back to that slide that has the accounting?
This?
No, the one from
The colored one.
The colored one. So if you look, and it's hard to see, the 16.4 million, which is with no alternates, and there's 4 alternates. And this is just my perspective, and I shared all of these thoughts with the committee last week when I was at their meeting. If we're going to build something of this magnitude, it has got to have a generator in it, which is the 100. So what I did was I took the 16.4 and added back in the generator and the 2 partitions, because the partitions are key to the flexibility of the space. Did not include the stone veneer and the pickleball court. So if you do that, that puts the project at 16.7 million, all right? And then if you take the 16.7 million and you apply the debt exclusion of 10 million, that leaves a balance of 6.7 million. And then if you take the 6.7 million and you apply the legislative earmark of 50,000, the UDAG at $1 million, assuming select board approval of the UDAG, and 2 million for capital stabilization subject to town meeting approval, that leaves a balance, an outstanding of 3.6 million. So then looking at the 3.6 million outstanding, one consideration, and again, this is, I think, the maximum it's pushing it, is to increase the capital stabilization to 3 million would be the maximum, and the UDAG from $1 million to 1.5 million still puts a shortfall as of right now, today, at 2.1 million is needed. So one of the things before us is there is a funding gap as of July 23rd. The 10 million is not, we're not on target there. I know that sounds harsh. It also assumes the housing choice grant, which we have applied for for the 500,000 for the water line. And if I was betting we're gonna get that, we will know in October. My concern is, because I always have to hope for the best and plan for the worst, if we don't, for some reason, get it, we're gonna have to address that. The issue of, I know the board will bring up the issue of the size, that reductions have been made. On the issue of time, I just want to point this out. So unfortunately, time is not on our side in this sense. If this was to go to the fall town meeting on October the 27th, in consultation with the town clerk, the debt exclusion election would be on Tuesday, November 4th, which is election day, and there are no elections this year. But if we assume that, the absolute drop deadline date for everything would be September 30th, because as the board knows, you have to authorize the election and notify the town clerk 35 days in advance. So the timeline, the clock, I mean, it's July 23rd. I'm just saying that there's the timeline is closing. Additionally related to time, as brought up in the presentation, the longer things go, as they get pushed out, as they have with this, is the issue of cost escalation. The final point on the revised option 3, or reduction of the project. When I met with the project, the OPM, and Katie and Ken, they have indicated that a reduction of 3,000 square feet would translate, we're talking in real time, translate to approximately $3 million in savings.
$3 million in savings.
If you reduce the project by 3,000 square feet, it would save.
That's not right. It's way less than that.
Ken, I was at the same meeting.
Okay.
Let me finish, please. Thank you. $3 million. The OPM told us right at the meeting that approximately, because I asked, because that's been one of the issues about the size. If you reduced it, how much would you save? He told me $3 million. But the issue is, if he also said, if you were to revise it or reduce it, and I think this is a key point that has been made by the committee, that isn't just like a quick exercise. As mentioned in the presentation, it would take time, and he indicated that they would not be able to meet this fall timeline if they had to be revised. And secondly, he said to me, and this was just an estimate, I haven't verified this, that it would be about $30,000 to $50,000 to do revisions of that magnitude, and we would need a funding source for that. We don't have that funding. And then, extremely important, and I don't want to minimize this, and I think this needs to be stressed, is what would the reduced project look like in terms of programming and so forth. Obviously, if there's a reduction of that magnitude, what would that look like? What does that mean, to the program? I think these are all what I would call considerations at this time. So that's on July 23rd. That's sort of where we stand on it. And as I said to all of the departments recently, it's a problem to be solved, and we need to be committed to resolving it. But there are a lot of moving parts.
So I have a couple concerns. One, I do have a lot of people that tell me it's too big. I also, to be honest, thought that since you last were before us, you would have had some public forums, as we used, for example, the stormwater, so that you could get the public's response to this, not just the people that would use it, but the people who are going to pay for it. Their response, their understanding as to what this project is, and to know the difference between a need and a want. And I think that's part of the problem. And I've mentioned this to you the last time I saw you, Katie. Is, there's the need and then there's the wants. And I think you need to focus more on the needs the wants can come later. So you don't go to town meeting hoping to do your arguments there. You do your arguments so that when you get to the town meeting, there's a couple clarifying questions that might need to be asked, but everyone's ready. You're in the summer, and if you're talking about going to town meeting in October, when are you having these public hearings so that people can tell you what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're thinking, and then you can adjust accordingly. And I think that, you know, you're kind of backed up against a wall, because I think there's a lot of time been wasted on not having public forums. I know you guys have your meetings, but that doesn't count. And I know you had, you know, you were at town meeting and you talked to some people but that was like, you know, 2 minutes of people walking into town meeting to hear a thing. And I know you were out in Devon's, hold on. I know you were out in Devon's, talked to a few people, but that is not what is needed. It's needed to everyone to be in the room, town hall, auditorium if possible, have this presentation and have this honest discussion so that everyone knows what it is they're going for. Because right now what I'm seeing is people can't do it right now.
Perhaps there was a misunderstanding on my part, because we wouldn't have gone and done additional public input during this schematic design process, because the point of schematic design was to get a more detailed view of the building and the price, because we were hoping the price was going to come down. And then once we had a more detailed set of drawings and a actually professionally cost estimation, then to begin. And that's where we are now, is that's completed, and we're trying to get feedback from you guys so that we can begin that process. Otherwise, it would not have been, it wouldn't have been as well formed in order to get the feedback that we wanted, that, you know, that I know you're looking for. And I do think that's important, and that's something that there's a subcommittee of our building committee that's focused on public outreach. They met earlier this week and have put together a plan of the different types of outreach that would need to happen between now and town meeting. And it's, you know, kind of a full court press from their perspective, yeah.
Right, and that part of that outreach is to actually have a, you know, everyone in a room, get as many people into the room, not just the people who are for this, okay? It's got to be everybody. You know, people that are out there, you know, right now going, what is this? How am I going to pay for this? Get them into the room so that they can know what's going on. Have it filmed by APAC so people can watch that video over and over and over again. It's got to be that type. It can't, you know?
Absolutely. You know,
And my concern about the UDAG, which I'm not saying we wouldn't use UDAG, but my concern is, and this is a reminder to everybody, is we always work to replenish UDAG. So if you take $1 million or $1.5 million out of UDAG over the years, we've then got to replenish it. And that just needs to be reminded to the people so that when it appears at town meeting and they're wondering why, they can say, well, because back then that's what we agreed to. Okay? So those are some of my, but I'm hesitant. And like I said, I do have a lot of people that are saying this thing is too big. And I understand, you know, you want to build something nice. We all agree. Everyone agrees with that. And we want to build something that works. But you need to build for the now, leaving openings for the then. And that's where I think part of the problem is. We're wanting to build the then now. And that would have to be worked to. And I'm all for, you know, as far as, you know, the little brochure that gone around as far as, you know, people donating and everything. And one of the things that I kind of talked with you about is like if you could have like a smaller thing that people who want to have ownership to this, but they can't afford the $500 brick. But they might be able to afford a $25 brick. Come up with those other ideas too. So, but I'm just concerned that right now you might get it through town meeting, but I don't think you'd win at the ballot. Chris or Sean? Chris?
Yeah, I mean, when we talked a few days ago, and I saw the 12.5, I said, okay, it's coming down. Like we're making progress. And as I spoke to you, you know, sometimes in the middle of the night, I kind of think and I go through and I go through the numbers in my head, and that's when I realized, well, wait, that had already had the 3 million from UDAG and Capital. And it, made me think more and go back to the numbers. So, and that's when I said, okay, yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking this thing, completely through. That there was some stuff that was taken out. Like we said, the covered walk area and the jogs and all that stuff. But it really only came down $1 million. And I know when we talked back in January, we were saying we really wanted to have that come down on your end to about 13, somewhere in there, and then use, with contingent that it's voted on, that extra 3 million. So, again, I'm looking through everything and I say, okay, so we have that 2.5 million. That's still just a shortfall. And, as Janice spoke, that 3 million that we're hoping gets approved through Capital and UDAG, it's not just free money, right? I mean, it's money that is taken and not available for something else in the future. So, that obviously needs to be thought about as well. I've talked about Littleton and what Littleton has done, because I don't build senior centers. The way my brain works is, okay, what's a comp? What's a comp? What can we look at? And I believe, and I could be off by a little bit here and stuff, that Littleton's is 14,000 square feet. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, but okay. All right. The numbers I saw was 14 in some, but okay. Well, I'm not going to stick on the numbers there. So you say, okay, well, that's in line. Um, Littleton has a bigger population. I know you're looking for out, 10 years out. Littleton has a senior population that they're projecting to be about 4,300 seniors 10 years out. Ayer, 3,600. I'm just pulling that from census data and just going by growth rates. So that's a 17% difference. Okay. The main thing that I saw, though, was, Littleton has a median income, household income of $146,000 to Ayer's 90. So there's probably a more palatable for a town that has, median income that's that much higher, to take this as a increase on a debt exclusion. So, looking at the floor plan, and again, we're going to all say, I was in your space, no good. That space is no good.
No good.
Right now, what you're looking to with this plan is to go to a 800% increase. That's big. Looking at the square footage, and I just kind of took these quick notes. You have 4 activity rooms, averaging about 500 square feet per room. And my question would be, do you see all 4 of those rooms being used all at the same time at full capacity? Is that where your programming is?
I do see that as a potential, because once you have a facility that is accessible, is offering programs, you're going to get in between double and triple the number of people that you have. All of the senior center directors that we've spoken to have indicated that, and it allows you to offer a wider variety of programs. So right now, as I've said before, there's one room that we can do exercise in, and so we can do exercise at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. And so you're limited in three exercise classes over the 5 days. So by having additional activity rooms, you can run exercise. I'm just using that as an example,
Yep.
follow me through. Exercise in the downstairs room that appeals to a large group of seniors. You can offer exercise in the the larger of the rooms upstairs that appeals to a smaller group of seniors, people who are prepping for a joint surgery, like a knee surgery, people who have Parkinson's, people who are new to exercise and don't want anyone to see them in the downstairs room. You know, all of those different things, while still hosting things like a grief support group, a current events group, watercolor painting, silk dyeing, you know, any number of, you know, Cards Against Humanity, Bridge, from a cube, all of those things in a third set of rooms. So it allows you to do that, and part of what you want in a senior center is not for people to come in a rigid, orderly line of people that come in, I clock in, I do my activity, and I leave. What a senior center is doing is building a social hub that combats the negative impacts of isolation. So what you want is for people to have time to flow in and have those informal conversations, not to be waiting for the next class to be coming out. They want to be able to have those 10 or 15 minutes to talk beforehand. They do their program. They're able to linger afterwards, go downstairs, get a cup of coffee, or come down to lunch. And that really creates that sense of community that is so important for older adults who, many of whom, after they leave the senior center, go home and may not talk to anyone else the rest of the day. And so when you make the building so small that it barely meets your current needs, you're not able to create that, because you're like, all right, everybody out, I got to set up for the next program, right? So you're trying to create that sense of community.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it and I see what your point is, but so if you're open from 9 to 5, right, on a weekday, and you have 4 activity rooms, you know, that's now like 32 activities in hour blocks. You know, so I know you're saying you're trying to have that, you know, you're not clock in, clock out, everyone get out and stuff. But to me, it just seems that is a lot of activities where if you have maybe 2 activity rooms and it's, you know, you have watercolor or whatever painting here, and exercise here, and then in a couple hours, you know, so you don't have that, like what we have here, the traffic jam of, okay, this meeting has to end because this group is coming in. You know, that's just one of my thoughts. It's also with, you know, the 2,500 square foot multi-room that I didn't kind of put this is just activity space, lounges, game room. It seems like there is a lot of space. And if we're trying to get down to that, you know, 10 million, or you know, 13 million with 3 million from the other 2 funds, and if the OPM is correct, which I believe him to be, that spoke to Robert, that, you know, if you can reduce that footage, that square footage, that would get you closer to that.
It would be too controversial for me right now to, I think, get in an argument with Robert, and the OPM is on the screen. The building cost is about 54% of the project cost. The building comes in at roughly 600 and just over 560 or $70 a square foot, somewhere in that vicinity. It's only 54% of 16 million.
800 something.
Yeah.
860, I think.
Okay.
I got it in the notes here.
All right.
So, where you see a number in the budget that says base construction of 11.9, that includes about $3 million of the site development costs. So the building is $8.9 million. Divide that by the 14,000, I think it comes out to $650 or $700 a square foot for the building. Again, not getting in an argument. When you reduce the size of the building, you do not save the entire cost of the reduction by square footage. You save a proportion of it. You might save 70% of the square foot number because you're building the rest of the building, the roof, the siding, the whole foundation, the steel. So you will save a proportionate amount, but you won't save the full square footage number. So to me, it's more of $1.5 million savings instead of $3 million savings. That's only That's my calculation. There might have been a misunderstanding in the conversation.
Because I think this is the key point with all due respect. The OPM,
Let's ask Brian.
no,
right?
excuse me,
He's got the
Again,
floor.
I had the OPM, Katie, you, and Dan, you correct me if I'm wrong, sitting here, what I said is the OPM said on July 14th that a reduction of 3,000 square feet would approximately reduce the cost by $3 million. Did he say that? That's what he
Did he say
said.
that? Okay.
That's what he said. And then if you take the math from the Fogarty, it has it at approximately 838 square feet.
That's the total project.
Yeah.
Total project cost, yeah, including the site development. So I'm not gonna get, I
I
take
got someone,
everything that you
hold on,
guys.
let's ask this person. Who's the name
That's
of that?
that's with the OPM
Brian,
from Vertex.
go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please, state your name.
Yes, Brian Forrest from Vertex for the OPM for the Senior Center project. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And Robert, I do believe there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. What I think the sentiment that we were trying to show was that with reductions, we don't get the dollar for dollar square footage costs that come in the AM Fogarty estimate that we have. In reducing a building of that size by around 3,000 square feet, there would be reductions in other soft costs and other percentages that we're carrying, but I don't think we would be getting the straight $1,000 per square foot. So I would, in my opinion, that number may not be as high as 3, but I believe it would be a little higher than what Ken was alluding to with the 1.5.
So if he's alluding to 1.5 and Robert's saying 3, would you say it'd be about 2?
Without going to knowing exactly what is being reduced and going through the cost estimate and working with the professional cost estimator to actually get the specifics of what is being reduced, yes, I would be comfortable saying that.
Okay, so that'd be at least a reduction of estimated, everybody remember the word estimated, of a $2 million reduction. Okay, thank you. That's still very important. That's still very important, okay? But therein lies part of the problem again. It's just even some of the confusion that's happened tonight. And that's why you've got to have this public forum the way we do, you know, even when we're doing the budget hearing, so that the people can ask the questions. Because I can tell you, the town of Ayer, and I don't just mean when I say the town of Ayer, the people in this building, because sometimes that's misunderstood. The town of Ayer, okay, the residents that live here, okay, are for a senior center. However, they've got to look at their wallets, and they've got to tell you what they can afford. And they also need to have their questions answered. And it needs to be understood that you can be for something and still ask questions. And so that's very, very important that this happens. And then when you have the public forum, some of the confusion can't happen because that confuses them. And that's the part everyone remembers. Do you remember all that confusion? And then they walk away saying, ooh, somebody don't have their ducks in a row. So that needs to be, you know, you can't have all that confusion, you know, that's even happened tonight.
Okay, that's the goal of getting through the schematic design process and having a formal cost estimation, is to make sure that when we are going to the public, that we have numbers that we feel we can count on. No matter what the number is, there will always be a chart like this, because this funding sources come from many different places. And there are things that can't be predicted, and there are some things like CDBG that come into play after town meeting and some that come into play before town meeting, things like that. So there will always be this sort of moving target, but as you go along, the scope of the moving target gets smaller and smaller. But you know, with a number like 1.3, I can't guarantee it either way. So I, in an attempt to be transparent, do have to present it in a yellow line so that people do understand it. that is very much a priority, to be transparent with the public and to give them the information that they need in order to cast their vote, for sure. We just wanted to make sure that we had gotten through this stage before we launched a whole second set of public input rounds. We did over a dozen public input sessions in November, December, and January, and had over 300 people in attendance across those, as well as going to things like the Devon's Food Truck Festival recently. My seniors, my population, doesn't go to that. They don't do food truck festivals as much.
Right, but that's just a soundbite.
Oh, no, I
Okay.
understand. No, I understand. But that is hopefully an assurance, and we saw each other there, an assurance that I am committed, the committee is committed to making sure that we get out to venues like that are not senior focused, so that the whole rest of the town can understand what, will hopefully be coming to the warrant.
By having that public forum, the way we've discussed
Absolutely.
too, the fact that he was even bringing up like the type of flooring that would happen so that seniors don't slide, that's really important for that to get out there. So all that needs to be built and brought into a better way, but I do think you do need to reduce the cost. Now, I know there's a concern that it would cost, $30,000 to $50,000 to go back to the designer or whatever that they're called. Because I know you always think I said the wrong word.
No, I didn't say that at all. You said the right word. You said.
Okay, is that if we could, I'm willing, and I think a lot of people would agree that, spending $30,000 to $50,000 to save up to $2 million to $3 million is worth it. Okay, so Sean, have you anything to say tonight?
Yes. So I kind of just want to reiterate some of the, or echo some of the things. I feel in its current iteration, it's going to be a hard sell. I think I've heard the same thing from several residents. It's too expensive. It's too large. Also, they're concerned that it serves a small portion of the community. There's people who aren't seniors that are, wondering why they're going to pay so much for a building that they don't get to use. So I think, and I know we've talked about like there could possibly be other community events there, but I think that a lot of people don't feel like it's going to be something that benefits them. I would say that getting to fall town meeting is very aspirational. I think that, and I think exploring option 3 would be the better thing. Did also want to ask, Robert, is there a way that, I know they don't have the funding, is there somewhere that the board could approve funding for an additional schematic, the additional $30,000 to $50,000?
30 to 50 come from.
Through the chair, Sean, at this point with the budget set, the most logical option would be from the UDAG, which the board could authorize.
30 to
subject
50,
replenishment.
like 100.
Pauline?
Oh, wait, did I unmute?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. Thank you, Janice, for your comments, because I was going to say the exact same thing that you did. But I have two other points. But spending $30,000 to $50,000 to reduce the size to save cost is, in my view, a wonderful thing to do, and at least present it to the public. So on that, let me ask a question. What is the current size of the senior center on Pond Street?
1,700 square feet.
And what is the proposed size of the center on Brooks? Is it Brooks?
Bishop.
I think
Bishop.
Bishop, sorry.
13,700.
So it's like 100%, more than 100% size increase. So to reduce the proposal, even 10% or 20%, still gets the senior center a huge increase in space. So I'll just leave that there. More importantly, I'm concerned about why KP Law, I guess they're called today, said CPC money wasn't applicable or available. Is there any way, Robert, I could actually see their opinion?
No opinion on it.
Through the chair, Pauline, I don't believe it came from town council. I think it came from the CPC alliance from the state. I can check with Janet Provodakis, but I'm not aware of any legal opinion from town council on the use of CPC.
I'm looking at the very hard to read spreadsheet with all the money, and it says Community Preservation Committee funds.
Yeah.
If you read across to the right,
Okay,
CPC funds for exterior site improvements.
Oh, it does
Exterior,
say per KP, yeah.
not likely
Is that you,
eligible
Katie
per
Petrossi?
KP.
Oh,
That's
KP is Katie Petrossi.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, KP Law, Katie Petrossi.
Yep.
But Pauline, to your question, I would connect with Janet from CPC because I know they got their information from the CPC Alliance on that issue.
I will certainly do that. But also, Katie, I would like to ask you, have you checked with surrounding towns such as Harvard, who have recently constructed or at least created a new senior center, to whether or not they have been able to use CPC funds?
Not specific to CPC funds. I can certainly reach out to Harvard. I don't believe they did because they also renovated a building that was being used for general municipal purposes. But
Correct.
it's certainly worth reaching out. I can definitely do that. Can I just address one of Sean's comments? It is, I can understand how someone who's not a senior would be concerned about the cost and who it would serve. But I do want to point out that seniors are 25% of Ayer's population. So that is not a small portion of the town, it is a quarter of the town's population. And there are currently more seniors in town than there are school-aged children. And that disparity is going to continue to grow because all of the census data shows that the number of school-aged children is going down, and there will be a 182% increase in older adults over time. So we are going to rapidly, in the lifetime of this building, approach where the town of Ayer is around 40% older adults. And so I think that's important to keep in mind when we are looking at how we're designing a building to meet their needs.
But you do understand that it's also seniors who don't necessarily want to pay for this.
Absolutely, I do.
Because there's seniors there are plenty of seniors in town that do not and will not ever use the senior center.
Absolutely, you never have 100%.
And so they're the ones speaking also. So it's really all the ranges. Again, it's people look in their wallets, and that's what they're gonna do. So, Pauline, was there anything else?
Yes, I'd like to go back to the CPC issue or discussion. If we have a two-story building, I presume elevators would be necessary,
Gee,
Yes.
Yes.
which would comply with a CPC grant because it's an ADA requirement. So I would propose that I would suggest that you at least look into that. Any funding that reduces the cost is going to be acceptable to everybody. And I think that's incumbent upon what you're doing. So the last question I have, I talked about space, I talked about CPC. The current estimated cost of under $200 is based on what borrowing rate?
4.5%, 20 years, in case you didn't hear that.
I didn't hear it, but thank you. And that segues into, I made this suggestion to the planning board last night. Y'all really need to speak into the microphones until whatever new sound system is installed, because it gets very hard to hear out here in Zoom land. Anyway, those are my questions and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. Mr. Curran. Mr. Curran, could you please come up and to the microphone?
general comment, it's very difficult for people out there to hear what's going on at this table. It's really amazing. There's no microphone on us speaking at this table to amplify in the room.
Yes,
So
we know.
anyone sitting back there,
That's why I try to speak up.
right, you're facing the audience, which is a benefit.
I've been known to project my voice. I know that comes as a shock to people, but anyways. Yes, Mr. Curran.
So just 2 points. The first is that over the last 18 months, 2 years, we spoke to a number of, and visited a number of the recently completed senior centers around Massachusetts. And one of the things that we learned, and it was pretty much universal, is don't build it too small. On every occasion for senior centers that were, 5 to 10 years had been built within the last 5 to 10 years, senior center directors universally in West Boylston, Sterling, Situate, to name 3 that I can think of off the top of my head, all said, we don't have enough space, we wish it were bigger. Don't build it too small, because the escalation in not only the population increasing, but also the just the activities being more popular, you're going to run out of space.
Right, and you guys had mentioned that before when you were in front of us, but there's also a thing of building too big.
No, I understand. And it's important to continue to be aware that the building is meant to last for 50 to 75 years. And any additional things that you're now having, 10 years from now, having to add on are going to be increasing costs. So that's one point. The other thing, and I think that this is an important point, is that the current facility is what it is at the size that it is. And the new facility is obviously substantially greater than that. But what that reflects, in my view, is that there has been little or no capital investment. That is, over the last 45 years, no intermediate steps were taken. So we are trying to not only plan for the future, we are trying to make up for 40 years of still being in the rented space in the so if
I don't think that's a fair comment, and I'll tell you why. Because in those 40 years, all those people that had an opportunity to use the senior center weren't going, hey, we want something bigger. So I don't think you can really say that over the 40 years everybody's ignored this, because that's not true, because it actually had been talked about and in the works for a long, long time. It just nobody got it to this point. Okay? So that being said, but again, there's such a thing as building too big. And your comment about, it's got to last 50 years, I guarantee you that you can build it the most solidified building, and it's going to last the next 50 years, and you're going to come back and you're going to say, we need to add on, because that's reality. So it wouldn't necessarily stay this size. That's what I'm saying. You don't build Taj Mahal right away. You build building 1, and then you add on the rest.
I would disagree with the characterization of this building as being the Taj Mahal.
It's not. It doesn't look like that. It's very pretty, though. Yes.
So my comment on just the don't build too small. If you went around and asked 100 police chiefs, 100 fire chiefs, DPW directors, I'm sure they would all say the same thing, right? Don't build it too small. So it's not just a senior center itself. It's something that I think everyone says when you go and buy a house, you're always thinking like, hey, I want to get this as big as I can within my budget. So, and I've heard that, don't build it too small, which on the face value, I agree. We don't want to build something too small. We want to, have it as big and all this stuff. But, that's universal out there. Okay. So, I mean, I know you talk to all these different senior centers, and that's what they're all saying over and over and over again, but ask anyone. Ask anyone that owns a building, and they'll probably say, yeah. I mean, if I ask Chief Gill right now, he'll say, yeah, we probably built this too small. We need more storage. We're going to get these 4 new employees with the coin group. Where are we going to put them? We built this too small. So that's just my comment to your comment.
Yes. Please come up so you can speak into the microphone, but we're going to have to start wrapping this up, everybody, because we do have the rest of the agenda to do.
I'm Ellen Fitzpatrick. I'm on this senior study committee. I want to speak to two things. I'll try to be as quick as I can. Don't build it too small. In trying to take out 3,000 square feet, you'd get down to about 10,000 for this building. I've spoken to, a couple of months ago, to the director of the Groton Senior Center, asking her, how do you feel about the space? And, you know, because we're looking at all that, and there's some concerns. I said, are you happy with it? And she said, well, it's a great building, but right now, every single room is full the entire day. We don't have any space to even hold a meeting or do any kind of outreach. They've been open, I think, 3 years, and they have 11,000 square feet. Now, you might say Groton is bigger, but also a lot of people from Ayer are going to Groton for their programs. So, and when you look at that and say, gee, there's a lot of space there for people to sit in a library or in a cafeteria, you know, socialization is one of the most important things for seniors who experience a great deal of loneliness, and their idea of being able to sit in some quiet places. Some people want to be in noisy places, and they want to have a variety of activities, whether it's knitting or art or exercise or meals. And I've been fighting for this for a long time, since before 2018. I was one of those exercise people who were fighting to get a better center because we considered that area a disgrace. And there's only 16 parking places there, and people are expected to go down and park in Peroni Park and walk back up and back down. Seniors are expected to do that in any weather. But, okay, that's my little rant on that. I'm on the subcommittee for outreach, and we've worked up a plan for mailings, public input sessions, including forums, mailings in the utility bills, website and other social media, yard signs, counter displays at various locations, and a video to show the existing building and how it works. So, and I'm sure we're going to be doing more, but I just wanted to let you know we are aware that we have a very short time span, and we are going to try to do everything we can to inform all the people in Ayer about what's happening and to get their input as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my final thought is it comes off adversarial a little bit. You can tell there's an edge in people's voices. What's our goal? Get you a senior center. What's your goal? Get a senior center. We're just looking at, and I say we, I should say me, I'm not speaking for anyone but myself, is I just have very high concerns that if it goes before the voters at town meeting and then at the ballot at 12.5 as a debt exclusion, it will fail. That's my opinion sitting up here right now, and I don't want that for you. I want it to succeed. And I've said, as a voter, just as an Ayer resident that gets to cast a vote, I'm in. You got it. But it's more, we got to just find this common ground that we can all be comfortable with, and that's all. I'm not against it. I don't want to come off as against it, but we need to find this common area that we all feel like, okay, this is going to work. Because as Janice said, we want to go to town meeting and then the ballot right afterwards and say, oh, this will pass. Yeah, we're good. We did all our due diligence. We worked hard, and it's going to pass. And I'm concerned about that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It's just that our generation of seniors and older adults is much more active than our parents, who are happy to sit there and play cards or play bingo. You know, we want to do a lot of different things. And so this is the very latest of design of what is needed for the current crop of seniors. And I think a lot of people who may look at that building and say, I'm not going to go, because they've looked at the building as it exists now and say, I'd never go there. When they see the level of programming and events and activities that are going on, they will be there. Because every single senior center has experienced 3 or more times the number of people who attend once they open up a new senior center.
I agree, but we've got to get it to plattable for the people. And that's where we're at. It's not right now. And we needed to get there.
I think there are a few people here who have been at the senior center who also wanted to just say.
Oh, I've been in the building because American Legion Post 139 used to hold their meetings in there.
No, these are seniors who.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the building's terrible. It's small. So, and anyway,
Terrible
so
space.
we kind of got to get going.
I just have one comment. So I want to be able to ask, there seems to be a discrepancy with what you know in terms of a population of people who will vote no and information that other people have with respect to a population that would vote yes. So maybe at the next meeting or some discussion forum, that information can be disseminated and talked about.
All you have to do is do these public forums and these public input meetings, just like we've done with budgets and we did with stormwater, and get the people in the room.
Yes,
That's all you got to do.
I agree.
And then that's where the chips will fall where they may. But you've got to get that. It's not just, we've sat here and told you what people are telling us.
Right,
And
and,
it's
and,
in
and there seems to be a discrepancy with the
But that's the
people
way
that-
it always is.
Right, and it seems to be a discrepancy with the people that people talk to, right, in town. And I understand that there are populations of people that, you know, are, you know, financially strapped, right? But there is a huge population of people that have recently moved in. As you know, Ayer has the biggest population growth in the state of Massachusetts over the last 10 years. Where are these people, right? That,
Don't know, so, but we
Right,
really
so-
need to move on.
all right.
May I speak briefly? Very briefly.
Rebriefing.
Yep.
And then this is the last one, okay?
Hi, Jim Nearing. I live on Highland Avenue. You've mentioned repeatedly tonight that you speak with people and they say no, they say no, they say no.
They say they're concerned, yes,
You said no.
I did say no.
Yep.
Yep,
So I'm one person. I live here in town. I'm a senior on a fixed income. I say yes. I don't want to see it downsized. I think it's the right size. I think this committee has done its homework. That's been evident tonight. It's been evident in the way that they've been responsive to input so far from public meetings. And as Katie said, this meeting was intended as a launching pad for the public meetings that they will have. So again, I'm one person. I'm saying yes. Thank you.
good. All right, thank you, everyone. All right.
We're a little bit behind on the agenda.
Hi, Dan, how are you?
Just organizing chairs. All right. Uh-oh. Oh,
In a
Yeah.
moment.
yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, this will be the first one. Assuming they vote yes.
Okay. Could I ask you to please take it outside? All right, go ahead, Dan.
Okay. All right. All right, so DPW agenda today. There's a couple items. The first is a change order. This is for the Grove Pond PFAS system improvements. That's the Clearwell storage tank project. So that's ongoing. It's on schedule. I'll give more of an update later on it. But essentially, this change order, there's a credit for eliminating an interior coating that's not needed for the storage tank that was included in design. And then an increase for cost of electrical permits that was missed, and temporary pumping equipment rentals that were also missed. So the amount is $118,752.54. This gets paid through the Army grant, not through the town funds. There's contingency funds there, and it's well within that budget. So if you have any questions, let me know. But that's a vote for the chair.
Did we lose Sean?
It says four. It says
Oh,
four
okay.
people.
Oh, there you are. I couldn't see you on the thumbnail anymore, so, okay. Any
And no, I
questions?
don't have any questions.
I have none.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to vote to approve change order number 1 for the Grove Pond WTF PFAS system improvement project in the amount of $118,752.54 for signature by the chair.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says yes.
All right,
Approved.
great. And then the next is just some updates on projects. So the first is the Clearwell project as well as our current water demand. So the Clearwell project I mentioned is on schedule. It's moving along. We are in summer demand. We're seeing the high use where, gradually every day where our tank levels are dropping and we're continuously monitoring them. As part of the Clearwell project, there is a temporary tank, which was part of the change order we've set up. We've had some issues getting that online, and so we're working out troubleshooting with that. In the meantime, we have been able to get Devons to supply us when we're needed. They haven't needed to yet, but we need to later this week. And thankfully, they've been able to do that. And any cost related to that will come out of the project. So it'll come through the Army grant funds as well. You would see that later on as a change order. So it'll get paid through the contractor. So right now, we're doing okay. We're keeping monitoring systems. If something were to happen, it could be an issue. But we don't recommend changing any of the outdoor water use that we have, just the standard that we have going on right now with the 9 to 5, odd even. So that's the latest on water demand in Clearwell. The next item's just as a heads up, FYI, the Water Management Act. So for our water resources, the public wells we have at Grove Pond and Speck Pond, we have permits for withdrawing water from the aquifer. So the Spectacle Pond wells are located in the Merrimack River Basin, and the river basin actually cuts through Ayer, and the Grove Pond wells are in the Nashua River Basin. Right now, everybody in the Merrimack River Basin, all the communities that have Water Management Act permits are getting renewals. We just received ours. So we're reviewing it. We have 90 days to reply to it, and I've actually initially talked to DEP about an extension. And the reason for that is we've been going through the process of our new well source, so looking for another well to put out at Speck Pond, and we just did our pump test this spring. And I don't have the report for it yet, but initially the results are good to be able to put another well out there. And so we're moving through that process, and if we do another well, we need to update our Water Management Act permit. So these two things are coming together at the same time. So just as a heads up, we will be submitting to DEP addressing our Water Management Act permit. There will be more, there's always more conditions when you get a new permit. So it's not set in stone yet, but I'd expect them probably to tie the town. You see the state drought levels. If the state has, a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 drought levels, then we have to start enacting certain criteria of non-essential outdoor water use. I would expect that to come with the new permit, but that's down the road. So just a heads up, that's going on. And the last update.
You're on.
Where's my bridge?
Yeah. No, I don't know where to start. All right, let's start with the positives. So, real good positive. We did receive another $500,000 grant from Mass DOT. So now we have $1.5 million in grants from MassDOT. So that's great. I submitted for it. I didn't expect we would get it, but we did. So that's positive. We have gone through some submittals with the contractor. So when you start the project, the contract, you go through submittals. They've brought the temporary traffic lights. They're staged at DPW. But I think what's going on, and we're working this out with the contractors, in a contract, you put a certain amount of time to complete the project. And the contractor has given us a timeline of basically how long it would take him to do the project. And he says 16 months plus or minus. And we put 24 to 28 months in the project. So I think he's, they keep kind of telling us, we're going to start then, we're going to start then. We have our preliminary schedule right now, but I'm not putting out the date they set in it because it's not realistic. So I'm meeting on Friday. I met today with my consultants and Matt Hearn and the town engineer. We're meeting Friday with the contractor, go over the preliminary schedule, have them shoot me straight, because right now the date he's given me, I don't think he can start them based on the progress of the submittals. The project will happen. They are here. They're a Mass DOT approved contractor. They do good work. It's just, I've never had a project kind of start like this. I think it's because there's too much time in it, but in the contractors really, I had to go to his superiors to get him moving type of thing. So it's been frustrating, but I know it's going to happen. It's kind of where it's at right now. I'm trying to shoot you straight, but so hopefully next time I can give you we're aiming to get a solid start date out of him. That's the plan, but that's where it's at. We will. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's it for DPW, unless you have any
Thank you.
questions. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for
Thanks,
sticking
Dan.
around.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan. You're very brave.
That's why he's on Zoom.
I should have came on Zoom, yeah. No.
This bridge, we were told, was imminent, like, 10,000 years ago. Goodness gracious. Oh, all right. Robert.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. I hope that summer is treating you well since we last officially met on June 17th. All of the warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met on June 17th are in the packet. Just very brief on the administrative update on the interest of time. Since the board last met, all of the personal service contract documents have been completed. The 3 union contract documents are being finalized and will be ready for your signature for the next meeting. Obviously, the MOAs on all contracts are in effect. We've had a successful closeout of FY25. A special thanks to the finance team, to Barbara and Kerry and April, Carly. A lot of work goes in closing out the fiscal year, only to start the implementation for FY26 and then the development for FY27. The town has also changed. This was not anticipated, but is a positive. The town did change its IT consulting services. The contractor that we had was not fulfilling the town's needs. So we have changed to a new consultant that has hit the ground running, IT World Band. All fits within the budget. In fact, through the year, there'll probably be some savings. I want to thank special thanks to Chief Gill for his IT expertise, and to Max Goodwin, the IT coordinator. Everything it got teed up for July 1st, and we're now in the process of moving forward. Also, a regional energy manager has been hired, as I mentioned to the board. This is a grant effort between Ayer, Shirley, Harvard, and Groton. It's a 3-year grant-funded position. I will be bringing the energy manager to one of your future meetings as an introduction, and he will be working with all of the towns and the school districts on further energy efforts. He will be based out of Groton, and he's technically a Groton employee subject to the grant over the next 3 years. On July 1st, Rachel Friedlander, our Economic Development Director, started. She has hit the ground running. I believe she's met with both of you and is looking to meet with Selectman Copeland. And we're excited to have Rachel here and looking forward to all of her good work. On July 9th, the town had its first Sustainability Committee meeting. So I understand it was a very good meeting, and there'll be more info coming on that. There have been several meetings regarding the senior center project that I have been involved with, both with the committee and others, and we will continue to work with them on that project. We appreciate the board's support tonight for the support of Ayer assuming the lead on coin. The chief will do an excellent job there, and I think that's a positive for the town and the region. Lastly, the non-union personnel compensation study, which this board authorized some ARPA funding with UMass Collins Center. We're looking for August target for the release of the study, and I want to thank the Assistant Town Manager. Carly has been sort of our point of contact with the folks at UMass. Finally, as far as coming attractions for the next meeting, August 19th, I would propose that on August 19th that we have an item, or the board consider an item to have a discussion with the town clerk and the town moderator regarding the electronic voting devices. As the board's aware, that recommendation to do the study passed town meeting, and on August 19th, I think we should start that discussion on that. And it's hard to believe, but on August 19th, the board will be officially opening the fall special town meeting warrant. I think the other thing, just under my report, based on the conversation tonight, and I know many of the, I think all of the senior folks have left, that, and we will do some preparation on this, in the event of a scenario looking at revising the proposed project, the most logical, and we'll do some work, the most logical funding source at this point would be the UDAG. A, that it's the only thing that's available, and B, is something subject to your approval that it could be available. So just something to think about. We're not, we'll do some more work on that, and I didn't want to get into detail, without them here, but hearing as a potential want to stress option.
If I can just butt in for a split second. Again, and you touched base on it, as far as, people think that we're not for this project. So I am for this project. I know that, people don't always understand where I'm coming from, but I have to say what the people are saying, just as he does, just as Sean does, and that's the part of the discussion. And we're looking forward to this project going forward and winning, but it has to be discussed, and it has to probably be tweaked. So
I think, obviously, on the 19th, more to come on that. Unless there's any questions from the board, I just have a couple of brief action items for this evening. Under appointments, for the MART Advisory Board, I'm respectfully requesting that the board vote to reappoint the town manager to the MART Advisory Board for a term effective July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
can we just do it in perpetuity?
It seems that way. I've been on it for 15 years here, and believe it or not, almost 6 in Fitchburg, but that's a recommendation.
I don't have
I
a
think
problem
I'm
with
good
that.
with it. I'll even make a motion to reappoint the town manager, Robert Puntbrand, to the MART Advisory Board for a term effective July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. The second one is the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, the MRPC, the alternate member. As the board is aware, the town has 2 members on the MRPC. The member seat is from the planning board, and the alternate member is from the select board. The member seat in the planning board may have taken action last night. I have to follow up.
They did. It was, they appointed Kathleen
Okay.
Cashel to the.
The seat became vacant with the resignation from the planning board of Jeff Tillotson. So I guess Kathleen Catchell, the planning board has appointed. The current alternate member is select board member Sean Copeland, and the select board is respectfully requested to discuss or to make the appointment or reappointment for the alternate member, and that would be effective July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Sean, you want to be the alternate again?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to reappoint the alternate member to the MRPC effective July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026 to be Select Board Member Sean Copeland.
Seconded. Oh, all those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
And then the last item the board has in its packet, as approached by Jeff Tillotson, who wears many hats in addition to being the moderator, is very involved with the cycling community and involved with rail trails, and I believe is going to be on a governor's appointed advisory group for that. And they are looking for support, hence the letter in your packet, of the rail with trail feasibility study for along the Fitchburg commuter rail line. Several communities along the rail line have been asked, including us, to send a letter of support for a feasibility study under the Rail with Trail initiative, and that would go to the Boston Metropolitan Planning Organization. And in the letter, which was the draft, the initial draft, which was provided by Jeff, you do see from the Air Master Plan, one of our key goals in its ongoing is to expand and upgrade equitable multimodal transportation opportunities, including sidewalks, paths, trails, and rails, in addition to roadways, to ensure that residents, workers, and transportation is met. And the study is looking at further connecting the Nashua River Rail Trail along, expanding those bike lanes and that network for further connectivity with Devens and Shirley in the region. So I think it's a positive thing. I think that the first step is the feasibility study, and I know that Jeff will keep us updated as he is key to this effort. So we're looking for approval by the board in your signature, and then it will go to the Massachusetts Transportation Authority, the DCR, Senator Eldridge, Rep. Sena, into the Air Planning Board.
Okay, any questions?
No, I think that's pretty cool.
Sean?
No question.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to support a rail with trail feasibility study along the Fitchburg commuter rail line.
Sean?
Oh, the sound went out. I second it.
Okay.
I did kind of stop abruptly.
Okay.
You do have a tendency to do that.
I
yeah.
do.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations, your letter is approved. Hope it goes well.
And Carly?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Jeff Tillotson, 15 Oak Ridge Drive. There's a secondary piece to this that I just want to speak about. The feasibility study is also going to give us a bunch of information on the corridor along the rail line, which is probably going to be valuable to the town also. So I do appreciate your supporting this. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Then, Madam Chair, last but not least, per the amendment to the agenda, item 4, the Shriver Job Corps approached the town seeking a resolution of support from the Select Board in the town of Ayer of the Shriver Job Corps Center on Devens. As the board is aware, due to recent federal actions on the federal level, the funding is in jeopardy of the Shriver Job Corps at the Devens location, and the other one in Massachusetts is in Grafton. They submitted a template, which I just took the liberty, we just got, and I took the liberty to just adjust it for specific to Ayer. In a nutshell, in the interest of time, per approval, it does 3 things: that the town of Ayer, through the Select Board, officially supports the continued operations and federal funding of the Shriver Job Corps Center. Secondly, that it urges the governor, the state legislature, and congressional delegation to advocate for the preservation of the funding, and it recognizes the critical role in workforce development. And the third thing is, subject to your approval and signature, the resolution will be transmitted to the governor, to the state legislature, and to the congressional delegation to convey your support. And I know that Carly prepared an official version for your consideration. Appreciate the board's consideration as last-minute amendment. I think it's a positive thing. Shriver Job Corps does a lot of great things, is a key piece of our region, and to lose them would be another loss. And I know that Congresswoman Trahan and Congressman McGovern were out here recently in support of trying to restore the funding.
Any questions?
No questions.
Sean?
I don't have any, no.
Okay. Nope, I think this is great. I have no issues with it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to support a resolution in support of the Shriver Job Corps Center to urge continued federal funding.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye.
Madam Chair, that concludes my report. I thank you and the board for your time this evening.
And do we have any update as to the accident that happened to
I
the
know,
Shrivers?
it's,
Good grief.
So, not to put him on the spot, but to put him on the spot, Chief, any quick update?
Nothing much. It was the driver did appear to have a medical event, and that's where we have. So it's just an unfortunate thing that tends to happen. Luckily, everybody survived, and that's where we're at.
Quite an accident.
Freaky
Yeah, it
thing.
was.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
nobody was killed
Yeah.
or seriously hurt.
Yeah, so.
Thank
Okay.
you, Chief.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All right, any new business select board member questions?
I have none.
John?
I have none.
Okay. Next up is the meeting minutes of June 17th, 2025.
I had no
didn't see
changes.
anything.
Yeah, I reviewed, no comments.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 17th, 2025.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
The chair says aye. Meeting minutes approved.
With that, Madam
Yes.
Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Good night, everyone.